Garden, we are the show for the thinking fan. Hi again, everybody. I'm Brian Kenny, taking you up to the Astros and Guardians. Some of you will see the Reds and the Rays. Reds have won 5 in a row. Live baseball right here this afternoon on MLB Network. Ron Darling and John Heyman are on the panel. Ronnie just off calling that Mets game last night. We'll get to that. Orioles manager Craig Albernes will join us. They're off a tough loss, but they just got Adley Rutschman back. We'll talk about that. We'll have our baseball-y plays, our baseball IQ plays, and the strike zone challenge of the day. A bit of controversy in that one. But first, there's no ignoring it. I tried. The Mets' losing streak is 12. #1 payroll in baseball. Worst record in baseball. This was in a game that was set up for them to win. The young ace, Nolan McLean, a real #1 on the mound, facing a Twins team that had been swept over the weekend. But they lost, and they lost in specific ways that are telling. Let's do a little digging in. I hate to get all baseball-y on you. Like, why do I have to do this? But we normally focus on logic and data. But this was a winnable game. You felt it. You could smell it. Francisco Lindor, 3-run home run early. You got the ace on the hill. That's McLean, a guy with a career 2.30 ERA, perfect through 5. But it came apart, and it happened in some subtle ways. First of all, the offense, right? This is somehow the worst hitting team in the majors, inexplicably. Lowest on base, lowest slugging. After the 4th inning, the Mets had 1 base runner, 1 on a walk by Lindor. So, yeah, it's a slow start, yes, but how's the process? The process is not good. Here's Marcus Semien in the 7th. It's a 2-0 pitch, 2 outs. What? Twins are close to giving you a base runner, but you won't take it. The Mets' chase percentage, I'm not beating up Semien, is 27th in baseball. Semien would strike out. That's a tie game in the 7th. The Mets front office point of emphasis in this past offseason, run prevention. Team president David Stearns cited it again and again when parting ways with Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, and Jeff McNeil. But if you think Luis Robert is a superior defender because of the defensive metrics, you haven't been watching him play. This should be a play to the plate. I thought Cody Clemens was dead to rights at home. There wasn't even a play on him. It didn't reach the cutoff on a fly. Robert's arm strength is middle of the pack, and it's been declining. Beyond that, I'm sorry, he was often an indifferent fielder in his years with the White Sox. If that's harsh, I'm sorry, but if you watched him through the years, you can question the metrics. On this show, in our baseball-y plays segment, we often do question the metrics. We have long been a champion of defensive metrics on this program. But we also recognize there are things that go beyond those metrics. And the Mets, in particular this year, have a lot of what Mets insiders call non-plays. Here's a non-play. Small, but significant. In the 9th, 1st and 2nd, nobody out. Cody Clemens bunting. Mark Vientos, he's new to first base. No, that's the wrong choice. Yeah, Keith Hernandez would have made that play. He's not Keith Hernandez. Everybody's safe. It's gasoline on the fire. From there, infield comes in. So when the infield is in, how about this little chopper? Yeah, no, that's now a base hit. That's a run. That's the game winner. For all the talk of run prevention, the Mets have had bad defense. Their first baseman and their third baseman have never played those positions. Center fielder is subpar. Juan Soto, great hitter. He comes back today. Also not a good fielder. And if you watch the Mets, again, you see non-plays. Basic execution is not good. And at the plate, chase percentage, 27th. There are 30 major league teams. They're 27th. On the bases, that's extra bases taken percentage, XBT percentage. How often are you going first to third, first to home, second to home, right? Taking an extra base? 35%, 27th out of 30 clubs. They're also, now this looks complicated, it's not, getting a runner in from third base with fewer than 2 outs, right? Ground ball, sacrifice fly, just executing, get that guy in. 29th in all of baseball, right? You need to do little things when you're trying to win these games, and you're 30th in hitting, and they're 30th. Weighted runs created plus. I got to explain all these things. I don't want to confuse you. 30th out of 30. Now, I expect that to change. They're not that bad. They're not. But these other things, no, those normally stay. Lastly, the Mets signed free agent closer Devin Williams, while their own guy, Edwin Diaz, he looks perplexed, was still on the market. 3 years, $51 million for Williams. Diaz did not appreciate that, went to the Dodgers. And for all of Williams' excellence, look, he had great years. But you had to recognize a loss of confidence last year with the Yankees. I heard from analytic types that Williams still had great underlying metrics. That's terrific. But if your ERA is up near 5 last year, it comes from somewhere. Strikeouts, limiting walks can be great. But if you're giving up runs, you're giving up runs. Last night in a game where the Mets were desperate to win, he gave up a lead without giving up a hit. It's early, but there's a lot of acquisition and roster construction that has made this historically bad start possible. 12 straight losses for the Mets. By the way, 11 of 13 losses for the Phillies. It's a whole other essay. Ronnie, I'll get to that tomorrow. Let us know what you think. Which team are you most confident in turning their season around? Mets, Phillies, Red Sox? Boston shut out by the Yankees last night. Or, look, pick another club. Blue Jays and Mariners, pretty disappointing. They're under 500. There's a lot of it to go around, but Ronnie Darling is here. Ronnie, good to see you again. John Heyman, do I have to shake your hand? See, he's here all the time.
Were you going to do the Phillies and you did the Mets instead?
I was actually trying to not do the Mets because you were here. I was like, no, we're not going to do that. And then I watched last night. And I said, all right, what is it like to watch, Ronnie? You had to think, like, you've been, again, I make a big deal about the payroll, but there is something to watching. Like, if you're watching Mets, Phillies, Dodgers, Yankees, it's heavyweight. You're in the heavyweight division.
Right.
So what is it like watching this now? What's happening?
Well, when you're watching it in real time, they're going through a period where if they get a well-pitched game, they don't hit the ball. If they hit the ball, their starter gets knocked out in the second or third inning. Golfers known as ham and egging it with your partner. You make a birdie, he makes a bogey. He makes a birdie, you make a bogey. You're just somehow figuring it out. They're not figuring it out right now. I think you addressed the run prevention. That certainly hasn't been there. It looks more like they have a lot of players in different positions as opposed to run prevention. That's what it feels like to me. And, you know, when you're in the middle of a 12-game losing streak, when you're a hot team, every night you think that someone's going to come up with a big hit or someone's going to get the 3 critical outs. You know it's going to happen because you feel it. I think the same thing happens when you're in a 12-game losing streak, is that when a team creeps closer to you, the Buxton home run, all of a sudden now, okay, what's going to happen? Yeah. Listen, as a professional athlete, you have to fight that because that inner demon is there, but you have to fight it and say, hey, listen, I'm going to plow through. And they haven't been able to do that so far.
But you do a great job calling the games, by the way. It's a pleasure to listen to you. And watching over the weekend, you're correct. That 1-0 lead into the 9th inning, I didn't feel like, oh, the Cubs are going to come back. I felt like they're winning this game. This is a winnable game. Last night I felt this is a winnable game. Were you perplexed by the throw to the home plate by Robert or the throw to third base, trying to get the lead runner? Like, any of that defensive stuff stand out to you?
I would think I was perplexed by the throw from Robert because if you were watching it from the booth, Clemens was sent, and he had not touched third when Robert had already secured the ball.
Right. You felt like here's a play.
And in baseball, whenever that happens, there's going to be a play at the plate, and he didn't come up with a good throw or an accurate throw. I think I'm not going to get on Vientos because of the play at third, because I thought that was an aggressive play. He's trying to help his pitcher out who just walked the first 2 hitters. I appreciate trying to be aggressive on that play. If you young players are aggressive, I'd rather that than meek and just...
You don't think his clock was... See, I thought his clock was off. I thought, no, you're too late, pal.
I think when he picked up the ball, as you see, he had some time. But it took some time for him to wind up. I was told by Tony La Russa many, many times, in those kind of situations, if it's going to be close, no chance. Take the out, because the out gives you a chance to get out of the inning.
Right. What do you think, Sean?
Well, they're clearly in trouble, and here's how I know they're in trouble, because they sent me on the middle of a road trip, which they don't do if they're not in trouble. As Willie Randolph used to say, I'm Dr. Doom. I showed up when things are going really terrible.
It's like seeing the owners show up on the road. You're like, what's happening? Everything okay?
Exactly. You know, I'm going to make a plea here for Carlos Mendoza. I know 12 in a row is bad, and everyone's going to look at the manager, and at some point, of course, baseball is as it is. At some point, you're going to probably fire the manager, Joe Madden, a favorite of yours. He was let go after 12 losses. This is not on him at all. The Mets front office just did not do a good job this winter. It was a bad winter. There were a few miscalculations. One is, and this is a little bit of a surprise because David Stearns is a New Yorker, adjustment to New York is a big factor. Now, I get why you wanted to change that team. Nobody liked the way that season ended. They certainly didn't like it. So you're going to want to make some changes. But the adjustment to New York is a big factor. I think he does know that. Reliability, another thing that they kind of ignored, right? Nimmo averaged 152 games over the last 4 years, as you pointed out to me earlier. Alonso, he plays every single day, scheduled the birth of his first child at midnight after a game. Now they have a guy.
I didn't know that was.
We have a guy, Luis Robert. He's load management. We don't even have load management in baseball. He's in load management. Polanco is on the IL. He was injured, I was told, with an Achilles. No, he went on the IL with a wrist. He's got 2 injuries. Bichette, as much as I love him, terrific talent, he has an injury history as well. So there are a lot of issues. The biggest issue, though, is this complete emphasis on run prevention. That's half the game. The other half is run production. They totally ignored run production, and they are now 30th in slugging, 30th in on base. And guess what? If you're 30th in slugging and 30th on base, what are you going to be 30th in? OPS, right? You're 30th in the most important category, right?
You know, BK, in this long, great game of ours, though, there's so much history that there's precedent to other places. In 2019, the Washington Nationals had a big decision to make. They were 19-31. Mike Rizzo is the president of baseball ops. Davey Martinez is his manager. Everyone was asking for Davey Martinez to be fired, to get this team fired up. He did what no one else wanted him to do. He held on to Davey Martinez. He let him ride the ship with them, and they became World Series champions. So that, I think, is the dilemma of the organization and Carlos Mendoza, because Mendoza is a talented manager that should be given that shot.
No, I absolutely agree. That's not on him. By the way, take a look at the teams that in the wild card era have been this far back or have had the record that the Mets have had. I think we have this, and have then later made the playoffs. Because that's what I was wondering, right? You can't say, hey, through the history of baseball, through most of the history of baseball, I'll look to John, he's a little older. Up until 1968, 2 teams made the playoffs. I guess we don't have that. I think 4 teams have made the playoffs in the wild card era, being 7-16. So 4 teams have been.
One thing I'll say, this is really not the heavyweight division that we think of it as, because, I mean, Atlanta's off to a great start. They have got some pitching questions. Philly has not been good. Washington, we know, is in a deep rebuild. Miami, we're not sure. They could go either way. That Central right now looks a lot tougher. You got a .565 percentage in the Central. You're in last place. That division looks pretty good right now, so they get a break in terms of that. And I saw Fangraphs has them at still like 40% chance to make the playoffs. I don't believe their percentages. They had them at 95% when I was watching it last year when they were terrible, and they obviously didn't make it. The 5% came in, but 40%, I think that's too high, but there is some percent. They're still in it. They're not out.
There's something there. I want to throw that up there. Throw the teams up there. I think the Astros 2 years ago did it. So the Astros in 2024, 2015 Rangers, 2006 Padres, getting off like worst record through the first 23 games. That's how we're looking at it. And that team's since 1995, when there was one wild card. Again, now you have more. You have 6 from each league. You have more of a chance.
Ding. You just said it. In the way the postseason is run now, with the extra teams in, really, how do you manage a 12-game losing streak? 500 by August 1st. If you're 500 by August 1st in the American or the National League, you'll have a chance to finish strong and play for a playoff spot. So that's how you manage what the Mets are going through right now.
It's the long haul. What was the Mets 3 years ago, again, got off to that terrible start with Mendoza. It was 0-4, 0-5, and they made it. And then last year, they're 21-9, and they didn't make it. So there's a long way to go, but that's why we dig into the process things, too. Closers, meantime. Devin Williams is struggling. He's not alone. I don't want to just beat this guy up. He's given up 7 runs in his last 3. That's bad. But Andres Munoz, who was, Cade Smith, guys who are considered untouchable. Trevor McGill, has had a great stretch run with Milwaukee. Duran is hurt. Hader, we haven't seen yet. Iglesias out until mid-May. Now Edwin Diaz, also I mentioned Diaz, but he's going to have surgery. He'll be out until a little after the All-Star break. While this is happening, the Padres gave up the #1 prospect in the sport, Leo DeVries, who's in the minors. I think he's.
Carlos, I know you kind of alluded to yesterday having to take it somewhat slow with Soto here. What is the plan beyond today? DH today, play the field tomorrow, but then moving forward, how do you plan on utilizing him?
Yeah, with no rehab assignment there, with him just getting live at bats and doing a lot of the running back here while we were gone. The plan is for him to be the DH today, playing the outfield tomorrow, and then reassess, see where we at. We need to be flexible. And we have to stay on top of things with him, If we see that there's a couple of games, 2-3 games where there's a lot of running, he's on base, going first to third, first to home, second to home, in the outfield, then we will have to adjust. And hopefully that's the case. That means he's on base and we're scoring a lot of runs. So, I think it's fluid, but at the same time, we just have to be smart with him.
When you talk about being fluid with him, are there going to have to be full off days with him mixed in as well?
Yes. I know he doesn't like that, especially where we at as a team. but also understanding that we got long ways to go here. So, yeah, there's going to be off days in there.
Howie?
Carlos, would that protocol be the same if the team wasn't on the streak that it is now? If you were, treading water at the very least, might you wait a little longer to bring him back, or is he coming back in part because he's good enough to play and obviously you need him now?
Yeah, no, having him back in the lineup's got nothing to do with the stretch we're in right now. Like, from the very beginning, we said it. We need this guy right, and we were not going to rush him. Like, it took him almost, 21 days for him to be back. And if he needed to be an extra 10 days or so, we were willing to take it. He's too important for this team, and especially when you're dealing with an injury like that, there was no reason for us to take any risk here. So, no, I think it's just he got to a place. He's in a good spot right now, ready to go, and that's why he's in the lineup.
Carlos, you mentioned him not going on the rehab assignment. Why didn't he go on a rehab assignment?
Felt like he got what he needed it here. Plenty of at-bats. We brought a lot of pitchers in here. We were able to simulate a lot of the things that you do it on a rehab assignment. So that's the whole purpose there.
Mike?
How big a difference can one player make? Even somebody Juan Soto's stature. How big a difference can that make?
It makes a big difference just to add his name on the lineup. But also, I said it yesterday, can't put all the pressure on him, especially while you're going through this stretch that we're in right now. But again, one of the best players in the game. When I was making out the lineup last night, just to be able to put his name in there, it just gives you a different look. But again, it's going to take all of us to get out of this. It's not just Juan Soto.
Dan?
Have you given any consideration to changing roles with Devin Williams?
No. I know he's going through it, right now. But as I'm sitting here, we haven't had that discussion.
So what gives you confidence that he can turn it around without a change?
Done it before, nature of the business. They're going to go through stretches where it's hard, and they find a way to get back in track. There's going to be adversity. There's going to be stretches where you're not at your best, and you got to keep going. And he's done that before, a few times. So that's what gives me and all of us confidence that he'll get there again.
Abby?
What have the reports been on Christian Scott in AAA?
Good. The way he's attacking, I think it comes down to attack. And we've seen that. We saw it in 2024 when he was at his best, when he came here in spring training, attacking hitters, fastball plays, and then some of the other weapons he has. But, yeah, the reports that we got from the previous two outings, it was like that's the guys that we saw in 2024 as well.
He said that after a year away from the game, he's really hungry. He wants it bad. With the team and sort of in the midst of this kind of slump, can that attitude be helpful?
Yes, I mean we take anything, right? But he's a competitor. He's another guy that cares, just like everyone in there. But he's gonna give you his best, and he wants to win every time he takes a baseball. And when he's not playing, he's supporting the guys there. Like he's got good ways to go about. That goes about him. So it's just nice to have him here now.
Dave?
Carlos, when you're looking to put the lineup on a daily basis, I know it's kind of tough to figure out because nobody's really been, a hot player or anything at this point. How much extra time does that involve now? Does it involve more trying to look at different things? How do you explain it when you're going through a stretch like this?
Having one helps, But, yeah, I mean, you guys seen it, how I've been playing around, especially at the little spot here, where the other teams is where we think they're at bullpen-wise. But we still got really good hitters. You got good hitters that they're going to get going, You just try and put them in positions where they're going to have success. And that's why I'm continuing to think. I like stability. I like consistency. Like in the perfect world, you got 6-7 guys on the same spot. They know where they're hitting, but given the circumstances right now, like I'm going to continue to see what's best for the team.
Max.
I was going to ask about the lineup too. Is there something specific about Bichette 1 and Lindor cleanup, just trying that iteration?
I think today just missing a couple of our left-handed hitters here. You know, if I go Lindor, Soto out of 1-2, then there's a lot of right-handed hitters there, and then with bullpens from different teams, like you're gonna have to make decisions in the middle of innings, and then you potentially be in a bad situation late in games. It's just there's a lot that goes into it. Again, I mean, I could go Lindor. There's a lot of different ways I could go here, but today I just felt like Bo leading off and putting Lindor on the cleanup made the most sense.
Daniel.
Carlos, el equipo está pasando de hace un buen momento de una defensiva difícil. La inyección de Juan Soto esta noche, ¿qué tú esperas?
Sí, mira, tener el nombre de Juan Soto en el line-up pues ayuda muchísimo. La presencia pues en el line-up para nadie es un secreto lo que eso significa, ¿no? Tampoco podemos poner toda la presión en Juan. Nosotros tenemos 12 jugadores que son tienen la capacidad pues de sacar al equipo adelante y confiamos en todos ellos, pero definitivamente tenerlo en el día de hoy ya en el line-up saludable pues te da una sensación diferente.
Mike.
Carlos, a couple of things. Just with Juan, you mentioned just felt he got what he needed here without a rehab assignment. I mean, did he drive that decision? Was that mostly how he felt about it, or you guys as a team, or both?
It's a team, both. What is it that he's going to get out of if he goes to a rehab assignment compared to if we can simulate every single scenario here? Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it when we're making these decisions, the player, the training staff, myself. So, yeah, I think it's a group effort here.
And, I mean, is it going to be, if you're really honest thinking about it, like hard to not hold your breath every time you see him bolt out of the batter's box or go first to third or something like that?
No, after watching him go through his drills the past couple of days in person and while we were on a road trip, I kept getting text videos with him doing all the baseball activity that he was doing here. So not necessarily because we put him through pretty much every scenario there that could potentially happen in a game.
Dan.
Carlos, a losing streak like this, kind of becomes a national story, kind of bigger than just a typical down stretch. How do you guys cope with that and the attention and just not letting it kind of get the best of you?
Yeah, we understand. There's news, right? There's a lot of noise, especially here in New York. But the one thing that in life you go through adversity. I've been through a lot of adversity before, whether it's in the game or outside of the baseball field. And here I am, right? You find ways to keep going. Same thing with those guys in there. And there's a reason why they're big league players. They get at some point in their life, not only on the baseball field, but outside of the baseball field, they got knocked down. They got punched in the face. And here they are on a big league field wearing a big league uniform. So you just got to continue to trust the people in here. You got to continue to stay together, block all that noise, even though it's super loud right now, and control the things that you can control. And together, we will get through it.